Welcome to yesPHX Presents,
In this series, the yesPHX community comes together to promote, build, and highlight small business and startups in the greater Phoenix area.
Hello and welcome to the yesPHX podcast. In this episode, we'll be discussing culture, how we do it, and how we make it ours. I'm Meagan DeMenna.
And I'm Heather Lee, and today we have in the studio with us Christina Kehoe, Community Operations at Bevy, and Director of Phoenix Startup Grind.
Hi everyone, I'm Christina Kehoe.
Adam Mann, Director of Design at Chassi.
Hello everybody, I'm Adam.
And last but not least, Vincent Orlek, President of Social Media Club Phoenix.
Hey, this is Vincent.
So let's dive right in and have everyone go around and tell us a little bit about yourself. Christina, let's start with you.
All right, so mine's kind of a cool story of how I first got involved with yesPHX. I actually didn't hear about yesPHX in Phoenix or in Arizona. I actually heard about it when I was at a conference in Vegas, and I ran into Zach Ferris, who's the founder of Coplex, and I couldn't believe that I saw someone else from Phoenix there, and then there was this whole community of people that were there from Phoenix, and he essentially began to tell me the story of yesPHX and all of the different things that were happening in Phoenix, and I was a kind of a newbie to the tech scene at the time. This is about 4 years ago, and invited me to my first Startup Grind Phoenix event. So as soon as I got back to Phoenix, I think it was a week later, I went to my first event and kind of got introduced to the whole yesPHX community that way. So that's my story.
Awesome. Vincent, you want to go next?
Sure. I being on social media often, I was first connected with yesPHX, kind of a connected way that through Caitlin Waters, who helps me manage yesPHX social media, and then through some of the happy hours, the mixers that they had. I never ended up going to any of the original mixers, but I just started getting involved with the volunteer marketing team, and it just grew from there.
Cool. Adam, how about you?
Yeah, for me, it actually started off with Jonathan Cottrell. He was the one that introduced me. We had been working on some projects prior, and yesPHX at the time, I hadn't heard of it, but he reached out to me and he asked if I would help with some design work. So he told me about the organization. I was definitely on board with what they were trying to do, and then I decided to work. And then from there, I started going to the mixers and things like that, and meet other people in the organization, and realized that every person that I met was also somehow connected to yesPHX. So I've just continued ever since and continue to do a lot of design work for them.
Awesome. And are you guys, how are you involved now with the organization?
So there's a few different ways I'm involved. One, I run Startup Grind Phoenix, so I myself have taken over the event that I first fell in love with when I came into the community, and I'm super proud to be doing that. There's a lot of really amazing entrepreneurs that I've had the chance to interview and just interact with from my community base. But I'm also part of the yesPHX team, so we get together quarterly and strategize what are the big initiatives that we really want to focus on, and what are things that we need to be supporting. We make sure that no rock goes unturned, and we make sure that we're figuring out ways to support our local entrepreneurs and get the word out. So that's how I'm currently involved.
Cool.
Being part of that team as I am with Christina, a lot of the same tasks. The other side with managing social media for yesPHX, it's an add-on to what I normally do anyway. So it takes some time. But I try to work it in with everything else I'm doing with my business and some other social media management on the side. And just managing the Facebook group is actually the thing that I do probably the most of, and that has brought a lot of interesting aspects, a lot of new connections, and a lot of times I'll connect with someone in the group, and outside of that, there's so many people in the group now. It's getting larger and larger, which is awesome. That's our goal, is to continue to grow it, full of all the people that want to be part of yesPHX. and contributors to the community. But it's funny I'll end up meeting someone outside of being online, like, oh yeah, we talked in the group on the comments or something, and so it's been great. It's been great.
Yeah, for me, to this day, I'm still doing a lot of design work for yesPHX. My first involvement was a rebranding of the website a few years ago, and there's still some work to be done there, continue to improve that, and then things like promotional work. So we have the Winter Social coming up soon. I helped with some of the announcements and social media covers, things like that. And then in January, we have the trip to Mexico to help, build houses in the community there.
Awesome.
I believe that's in time with One Mission. And so I help work with, create that website as well. So.
And a lot of you have seen the generous shirts that are being worn around. Those are
I have mine on.
Those were designed by Adam as well.
Perfect. Well, I just kind of want to take a second and say, like, how grateful we are to have the three of you on this episode, because we kind of have it from, like, a very community perspective, a very online community perspective, and, like, a design perspective. I think it's, like, a really good mesh of how the culture has evolved and where it started and where it's going. So I'm excited to kind of dive into that with you guys today. So thanks for being here.
Let's do it.
Thank you.
So what does tech culture mean to you, or what does it look like to you guys? Are there other communities that you look at that you think that yesPHX can aspire to?
Tech culture, I mean, for me, coming in as someone that was not into the startup side of it. I'm totally coming from the marketing and specifically social media and digital side. Coming into the yesPHX culture, the tech, the startup side has been really eye-opening over the last 2 years. And I feel like I wouldn't have been able to be part of even a new business venture really in the way that I've been able to over the last year and a half without that experience. Because, and one of the things that comes up a lot with us is looking at Silicon Valley, right?
Yeah.
Looking at San Francisco and be like, oh man, and a lot of people will kind of mention that and be like, well, they're doing this and why can't we do this? And the biggest, latest example was Amazon headquarters, the second location, and everyone's flipping out. And as soon as it was announced they were looking for one, people were like, we should get them in Phoenix. And obviously, all these other cities across the country.
And Tucson sends them a cactus.
Tucson sent them a cactus.
Why?
I'm glad Phoenix didn't, I mean, and I think the general feeling, I'm not going to speak for everybody, but I think the general feeling is that the tech culture here is enough that why don't we take whatever incentives, whatever things we're going to throw at Amazon to open some new place here that's going to employ workhorse type jobs, which there's nothing wrong with. There's absolutely nothing wrong with. But it's that, while it's a part of the tech culture, it's a different piece of it. So why don't we take the incentives that they're going to throw at Amazon and throw it into the local startup scene and tech scene? That's where I see the most potential for success to happen. And if, like I said, if they're going to do it there, why not do it into the local community?
It's a great point.
To jump on that a little bit, there are companies like Double Dutch, which you'll hear from us in Startup Grind in January. I have their founder as my Fireside Chat guest. But they have made a dedication to bring developer talent here instead of just the typical customer service and sales talent that we are so rich in here in Arizona. And what I think is really funny is a lot of our developer talent that leaves goes sometimes to companies that actually have second offices out here already, and yet they're paying the moving costs and the extra salary to move these guys to San Francisco when they could just keep them here and have the cost saving, and we could reallocate those resources back here in Phoenix. So I can't wait till they get a little smarter about that. I would love to see more of that moving here to Phoenix, because we do have some great technical talent that's coming, especially out of ASU, and the CS programs. So shout out to Michael Crow.
To me, one of the exciting things is how you don't have to be super techie to be part of the tech culture here.
Right.
Yeah.
I know, across the table, Megan, like not a super tech person. Myself, designer, not super into tech. I try to kind of distance myself at times from it. But the entire culture is very inclusive. And so, designers are getting seats at the tables, content marketers are getting seats at the tables. Like everybody is like really kind of like ingraining this culture and dedicated to it and growing Phoenix. There's like a lot of excitement right now. And I really appreciate that, because if I were to say try to enter a market in San Francisco and move there, I would probably feel a little bit out of place or overwhelmed and not quite speak the same language. But I don't see that as an issue here. That's one of the things I really appreciate about the tech culture here, is that it seems very inclusive.
It's a great point.
Yeah.
I've worked with people, not in San Francisco, but in New York. I'm thinking specifically of this project where they're from New York, and we were working with them, and it was like a month long. We were doing this project, and at the end of the month, they're like, how did you guys get that done so fast? We would be working on this for like 5 years. So I think that's something we do take for granted here, is that people are inclusive and they do want to work with us, and we can get things done kind of fast. It's kind of nice.
Can I give an extra answer?
Yes, please do.
Because answering the question of what does it look like, what does the tech culture look like?
Yeah.
I think it looks like whatever your city's tech culture consists of now. Like, because the yesPHX tech culture, I mean, we have our own startup and tech culture. If you go to Austin, if you go to Chicago, if you go to, name a city. It's going to look different everywhere, and that's really the beauty of it.
I have something else to add too. I think what also makes us a thriving ecosystem is that our politicians also choose to get involved and hold stances on aspects of tech and innovation culture. No matter what party you are on, there's on both sides. Doug Ducey declared an innovation day when Steve Wozniak came to town. Greg Stanton has always been very vocal about being pro-innovation and bringing in companies, making it easy for companies like Uber and whatnot to come here with self-driving vehicles. You can't drive around town without seeing a Waymo vehicle or an Uber automated vehicle. So I think that's really cool to see that they understand that we have a hotbed of innovation happening here, and we can't move very fast if we keep butting heads with government. So I like that they've chosen to play ball with us.
The only thing I get concerned about is that the tech and startup space is kind of the hot thing right now. It has been for a little bit, and it probably will continue to be, but politically also. So will there be a time where it's not? Because right now we've been going through a pretty decent stage of growth, especially, we're sitting here in the warehouse district. Everyone's all about the warehouse district and how it's growing, and Phoenix coming back, rising out of the ashes of the recession. And, what happens when it's not the quote unquote sexy thing to be part of the innovation and tech, 10 years from now, will it still be the thing that politicians want to be associated with or putting a lot of time into? So I don't know. I don't know the answer. I'm just kind of throwing it out there.
Well, good business is good business,
Right.
Yeah.
And I think part of yesPHX is that it's inclusive, not just to tech too. So I see what you're saying. It's a good point. But I think as long as tech continues to grow the way it is, it might always be the top thing. I don't know.
Yeah, hopefully.
And I think that with communities like yesPHX, we're keeping that voice of innovation top of mind, and I think it's only growing. And so when you see that happening and you see it being the loudest thing, then I think people can't help but follow suit with that.
Yeah.
I know a big key too is because Arizona, Phoenix area especially is traditionally maybe the big issue, or maybe it's a problem, real estate. The money gets put into real estate.
Yeah.
Investors. Now we're seeing more investors investing in tech and in innovation and startups. So I'm just saying, I hope that continues. I hope it gets even more so here.
I agree.
locally.
I think there's a big appetite for people to change the brand of Arizona. So kind of touching back on Tucson sending Amazon a cactus. I think outside of Arizona, when you ask people what is their perception of Arizona, words that come up are things like cactus and tumbleweeds and desert and not
Housing
innovation.
recession.
And not innovation and technology. And I believe that if our politicians and our just business as a whole want to get anything done, we do business outside the state. And so everyone has a motivation to change the brand of Arizona. And therefore, I have really high hopes that tech and innovation won't be a dying conversation or lose resources when it comes to political backing.
You can see that already, that kind of transformation. When I travel, people, they mention Phoenix and they've heard of it from a tech perspective now. And you see more and more articles, things like TechCrunch and even one on Forbes, like hotspots for tech, Phoenix is highlighted on those,
Nice.
I think that's because of yesPHX. I think it is.
Oh, it's definitely had an influence.
Yeah.
But yeah. So we're starting to be a little bit more known for that. We have companies moving here from San Francisco. So obviously one of the most notable ones is Tuft & Needle.
Yeah.
And they're big fans of Phoenix. They talk about it consistently. And
They put substantial ad budget into banners. You can't go drive anywhere without seeing them.
so we have that attention. And one of the things is the real estate market, but also the talent pool. People would go somewhere cheap if there wasn't the talent as well.
So, have you guys seen a change in the culture from the beginning?
Yeah, I've heard way more people moving here because they've heard of us being a hotbed. Just last week, we're talking in December now, but there was an event for women in tech, and at that event, I ran into 3 people who had just moved here in the last month that were tech entrepreneurs, and they came here because of the promise of it being a hotbed and a place that they believed would help take their company to the next level and support them. So I think that's a huge change. I didn't hear of a lot of tech entrepreneurs intentionally moving here to start their companies or to grow their companies. So that's one piece.
Like I said, I've been involved for just about 2 years in really awareness of the scene, the startup and tech scene, and with yesPHX. With ASU, the whole 2 years in a row being named the most innovative school in the country, take that for what it's worth. It seems like a pretty awesome award. Thank
you for that elevated value of my degree.
And if you want to talk about outside perceptions, look, there's still going to be for a while always that perception of ASU as a party school, just because. But these are the types of things that start to change the perceptions. And 10 years from now, ASU might be looked at as, by everybody as a real hotbed of tech and innovation. The culture change, I haven't been in it long enough to know, because when I came in, it was like kind of the start of a lot of the growth. So it would be interesting to ask some of the folks that have been even in the whole scene for like the last 10 years or 5 years. And I know, Christina, you've been around in the tech scene for a little bit.
I think, speaking of ASU, and I was just mentioning this to, there was a local angel investor I was talking to, but when I was in school at ASU, people were not starting companies, and this is probably has something to do with the whole movement of new entrepreneurship is a cool thing right now. But I've been talking to some really intelligent entrepreneurs. There's a founder named Jonathan who started a company called Air Garage, and like absolute ace presenter. It'll be really interesting to see where he goes, but it's just on and on. There's 2 students, Ani and Ethan, that pulled together a panel for yesPHX to tell all the students at WP Carey, basically introducing them to what was going on in the ecosystem to try to get them to realize what was going on here in Phoenix. And I mean, those panels were not happening when I was in school, or at least I wasn't aware of them. So just to have these students that are leaps and bounds above where I was even thinking is super promising. And I'm just super impressed overall.
Yeah, they have that one organization, Venture Devils,
Yes.
is kids creating their own startup, and some of them don't make it. It's not like the whole program is full of kids companies, entrepreneurial ventures that succeed. Most of them don't, from my understanding. It's like a couple get kind of chosen and get worked on, and then even at that point they may not continue on. So those are, if it also goes back to being in college. What are you actually learning? If that was a program when I was in college, I think maybe I would have been interested. I don't know, but it would have been an option. It would have been fun to explore. And it's the whole realistic education. Like, what are you learning when you're in college? Are you learning algebra again, or are you learning how to succeed in developing a business? That's great for us as yesPHX. That's fantastic to get that experience.
Last little beat on the drum for ASU, they do have some special programs that they're developing specifically for blockchain as well as AI, which is pretty impressive to see. Blockchain has been really, we can go on all day about blockchain, but it's one of those industries that Silicon Valley does not own. And it's really surviving outside the ecosystem of the typical tech hubs, bigger than any other technology that has shown its face to us. And it'll be really exciting to see how that plays out in Arizona as well. We've got a lot of great companies. I'll shout out a coin that we have, Dash, which is a really strong coin on the market right now. They're at SkySong. But there's a lot of great entrepreneurs that are on that, in that industry and making some big waves.
The most exciting thing for me, just seeing the change in culture, is the level of engagement and awareness. It's just, I've been around the startup scene in yesPHX for about 4 years. I first got involved at Startup Weekend in late 2012. That was my first kind of step into the entrepreneurial scene. And I didn't know what I was getting myself into. They needed designers at the event. My friend Jenny Poon, she was like, will you go? You're a designer and we need more of you there. And so I went. And it was an amazing experience. I'll remember that weekend forever because that really changed. That was a very pivotal point in my life. And I realized that it's not just, like, an entrepreneur isn't just an entrepreneur. Anybody can be an entrepreneur. And seeing, designers up there giving pitches and marketers getting up there giving pitches, and then seeing these teams come together where people, they're learning, they're testing, they're playing with ideas, and that back and forth, and like nobody has all the answers. And it just became much more approachable. And then so since then, in the past, I'd say about 4 years, going from when I had never heard of yesPHX, a lot of people I knew hadn't heard of yesPHX, now everybody does. And now, we have a lot of events and things going on. And I think it's great just to see the level of engagement just go through the roof.
And Startup Week definitely has a part in that too. Startup Week is only a couple of years old, but the amount of people that get exposed to the yesPHX community, the startup community, during that whole week of events over the last couple of years, it's thousands. It's not all the same people. It's not all the same people. This year, it's going to be another whole new group of people that comes in, and we see it in the Facebook group. It's grown by, it's doubled. It's like another 1,000 people.
How many people are in there?
It's just under 2,000,
yeah.
Which, it was under 1,000 a year ago. So we'll take that. That was one of our goals, was add another 1,000 people. So, and the social media accounts do the same thing. We're trying to, that helps to grow the awareness and grow the brand. one thing to clarify is that yesPHX is not a group or an organization necessarily. It's that it's the banner, the theme of the tech and startup community, because we get that question a lot. And it's like, oh, well, how can I speak at a yesPHX event or do something with Yes? Just do it.
It's all around.
It's all around you.
around
It's like Dolby Stereo.
Yes.
With the yesPHX, I feel like that's pulled everything together.
Yes.
Like I know we went to PodCamp, gosh, when was that? Like 12 years ago or 10 years ago, I don't remember. And then there was Laid Off Camp. People were doing camps all over the valley, and that was back in the days of Twestival, and it was just people, the same people were still starting to pull together, and the numbers were growing, but it all was a little more disjointed. Mm-hmm. So I feel like with the yesPHX, I'm new to yesPHX, sorry, so new, new to it, and just seeing that it seems more organized and things are pulling together more as a group.
Yeah, and I think that's the idea, is just use the hashtag to bring awareness. There's no one single event that is a yesPHX only event or anything like that. It's the idea of, we want to get the word out there that there are things for people to do. There's a community here. There's like this nice warm blanket that is here for you in the tech community, because it's hard being an entrepreneur. It's hard to work for startups, and we are an inclusive community, and we want people to be involved, and we want you to know that there is a group, there's a little niche for you within that. You don't have to go to everything or be involved in everything, but find the thing that resonates with you, and hashtag it yesPHX, so that people know what's going on and what else there is that's out and about. And that's how we make those lists, like Forbes and Inc. and things like that, is because people begin to see the trending activity, and it becomes appetizing for journalists, which then just creates more momentum. So it's a nice little circular effect.
As long as you're willing to be generous with yourself, your time, your knowledge, or whatever, then you have a place in the community.
That's right. How do you think we can continue to grow this movement? I mean, you mentioned the yesPHX hashtag. I think that's one great way. Do you guys have any other ideas about how to keep this growing and moving?
I know myself personally, I want to see more community events, and not in the way of Mixer, not like, we have a thing. I'm choking up here.
The social.
Yeah.
Socials.
We have winter social, we have summer social, we have these things that get people together. I think that they can be a bit intimidating for people the first time, particularly if you're like an introvert like me. You're like, oh, I'm going to go and have to talk to all these people and meet all these new people. Intimidating. But so when I say community events, is we've kind of been branded in a way as like one of the most generous communities in the tech scene and in this kind of startup culture in the country. And I want to see that just pushed even further. So we're doing this event in Mexico where we're going to go and help build houses for some people in less fortunate situations. And I'm super excited about it. I can't wait. It's the second one that they've done, and we have like a couple hundred people that want to go and do that. And so getting a couple hundred people that aren't just there to exchange names and promote their own business, and actually like really develop this community and like, hey, we're going to do this together. I think it's just, I'm so excited for the possibilities of what kind of relationships and connections we're going to get out of that. And so that's just a personal note. I would love to see us continue to give back in many different ways. And I don't know what those are exactly, but.
Generous is the new rich.
I agree.
I'll shout out a women's group. I recently joined the Babe Council, and
Nice.
it's all service and civic service-based work, and we kind of pick a service project once a month. We just visited an animal shelter called the Foothills Animal Rescue, and we just spent the whole day bathing, walking, and playing with dogs. I mean, really just the best thing ever.
That's awesome.
But we've also done things in the past, like volunteered at St. Mary's Food Bank, and we did a turkey drive for a homeless shelter, and then we've also just spent time writing letters to our senators about different issues that make us upset. So it's been a really cool thing to be a part of, because there's a lot of people who say, like, how do I get involved, and how do I move the needle?
How do I affect change?
How do I affect change? And there's this great, there's 3 co-founders of this, but I know Angelique, she's a member of this space here in Galvanize, and she's the one who organized it. But I think it was really cool of her. It was after the Women's March when people were kind of asking, what else can I do? And so she kind of took the reins on that and created a whole brand. And so that's another thing. I would love to see more things like that, maybe things that are for both men and women to go ahead and do some more things in our community. Because you're right, that's how we actually get close to each other and form that human connection. I'll never forget, so I was part of Valley Leadership this last round, and one of our end of year projects was we were part of building a house for Habitat for Humanity, and I've never gotten so close to people than like working on a roof with them. So we like shingled a whole roof, but it was just really cool. We got really close to each other. That's when we really started talking, and that's I think what the real connections are all about, is not necessarily trying to hand off your business card as fast as you possibly can.
Yeah.
So, and that's I mean, kind of tying it back into Startup Grind. That's one of our core values, is make friends, not contacts. Don't sit there and try to figure out what you can get out of the event. Be there to be helpful and tell each other what are your skills and how can you help, and what do you need, and asking those correct questions rather than Sunday.
Right.
Bye now. Like, I don't know. So, yeah.
I mean, as far as growing the movement, I enjoy telling people about the community. You know, I mean, it's my barber. You know, I mean, like whoever it is. Well, actually, my barber now is already in here. Keep it cut. Just talking to people, and really could be anybody, because I go to a mechanic in Chandler, and hey, he didn't know about yesPHX. It's like, well, you're a small business, you're an entrepreneur. Like, there's reason for you to be connected to the community. So I don't give out business cards, other than sometimes we have the yesPHX business cards, but all it's got is like the website on it, and the hashtag. But I don't like hand people my business card saying, hey, yeah, I come into yesPHX. I don't use it as a business opportunity, at least not directly. Do we make connections? Does a lot of it come back to everyone within the community? Yeah. You end up working with people on all kinds of different things. So I found it invaluable for me, and I mean, on a business level, sure, but more like on a personal level for me, the friends I've made.
And I'm just going to give Vincent a lot of kudos here. When you talk about, when you're talking about your skills, the best way to show them is sometimes volunteering, and Vincent's taken on a huge role of owning him and Caitlin are owning the social media channels, and you can literally see their work, every response, every comment. That's all them, and that's proof of exactly what type of worker he is. You can tell that he's got great work ethic. So does Caitlin. And I mean, there's so far you can go with just volunteering and stepping up and raising your hand and actually doing the work. I think there's some people that say that they want to help out and then don't actually come back around, and yeah, we know who you are.
Thank you for saying that, Christina. I think everybody in this room also, I would say everybody that's sitting in this room right now, which is probably the second closest thing to putting shingles on a roof, as far as being close.
We're pretty close to you.
We are. But it's all good. It's great. But yeah, I think everybody in this room is actively part and giving of themselves to the community.
So how do you guys suggest getting involved? And actually, if I can add one more part to that, which would be, and how do you balance it with a regular job?
Do meeting notes 15 minutes.
Yes. I just want to give a shout out to Meagan for prepping us for this podcast in an amazing manner. More than I've ever done for a podcast, which is awesome. And I'm going to totally copy what you've done.
Thank you. 10 minutes before everybody.
Hey,
Oh, damn.
better than nothing, believe me.
How do I suggest getting involved? I mean, I did kind of touch on it with volunteering.
Mm-hmm.
That's the best. I don't know. I love volunteering and getting involved. That's how you make real human connections. I feel like it's how you can support the causes you're really passionate about. Just show up to events, answer a question in the yesPHX community. I don't do the best job of it, but I'll skim our Slack channel typically on the weekends and things like that just to see if there's anything I can grab and help out with. Be open to have coffee and lunch with people. When you see someone that's new, just make sure they feel welcome. We want people to keep coming back and contributing, and we want to know people's stories and the things that they're passionate about, because each of those things is very valuable to our ecosystem. And it's amazing, like just all the things that other people have done for me to elevate me, and I want to do nothing but reach back around and help people in the same way. And I think if everyone has that same type of mentality, even if you feel like you're only a little bit ahead, share that knowledge with other people and never discount your experiences, because everything can really help someone else progress. There was like another question that you guys asked.
And how do you, what did I say, and how do you manage it?
Oh, how do I manage
stay on top of it?
So I do and I don't believe in work-life balance. I'll put that one out there. I work some incredibly late hours, but I've been very intentional in my own personal life about the things that are really important for me. Like, for example, I love figure skating. I've been figure skating since I was a little kid, and it's something that I got away from in my adulthood. And this year I made it very intentional. Every single weekend when I was in town, I would go hit the rink. And it's just one of those things that I just put on my music or a podcast and I just let my mind go. And so I think there's things like that. If you're intentional about having those things that are really important to you and making sure that they're always a part of a staple of your life, that makes it okay when I'm up working on something till 2 a.m. Because definitely I work in a startup. Like that is not a 40-hour-a-week job in and of itself. And also I'm really passionate about it. I don't think twice about working on something for our clients, because it's something that I'm constantly thinking about anyways. I think about it in the shower. Like, it's just literally every waking moment I'm thinking about how we can progress this product. And then I love startup grind. So I love bringing those stories out of founders. And so I'm always kind of cranking on whose story I should have and to give to the community. And so working on things that you love, and then being very intentional about making time for things that ground and center you and give you that mental space to just recharge your creative energies. That's how I get it done.
I would say to get involved, start by going to yesPHX.com and click on the resources tab and scroll through all those different little boxes and pictures and hit the ones that appeal to you. You know, I mean, if you're not a Facebook person, don't join the Facebook group. If you're more of a Slack person, we have a Slack group with all kinds of channels, and they'll create a channel if there's enough interest. So just connecting with people that way. Of course, the social media accounts, I'll throw those out there, the Facebook page, and Twitter account, and Instagram. And we have a Medium site. We have a Medium publication that if you like to write, if you have even if it's a one-time thing, a story to tell about your business or how you came into the entrepreneurial space, write it and submit it and tell me, and we'll review it. And every single thing doesn't get approved, but certainly most things do, especially as long as they're not salesy.
Yeah.
That Sunday type stuff. And as far as the managing it all, it's my wife is on my case all the time. I have a 4-year-old daughter and a 17-year-old daughter, and the 4-year-old takes up more of my time, obviously, of our time. But it's it's hard, but we make it work. And because she has a social media aspect to her job, she understands that there's like a kind of a constant thing. If you let it, you can still plan things out with social media. There's an aspect to it where if something happens, you need to be aware, but you can still plan things out. And even though that's the case, I am the one that's up till midnight, 1 a.m. doing things because I am working on a couple different things for the business, and then yesPHX, and then even social media club, and then my own personal, like a blog or something. So you do have to manage that, and I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm the best organizer of time at all. I am the farthest from that, but I just get it done. I don't know how. it just gets done, even if it's at the last minute. I can tell you for Social Media Day this year, I was the night before still doing things.
Nobody else does that.
Still, yeah, I was still like creating posts and things for the next day to be posted and all that sort of stuff. And but I think there's a lot of people like that. And that's why one of the things is always time management that entrepreneurs and business owners always have an issue with, and why there's such a market for even that on its own. But yeah, so the long story short is I don't have the answer for how I manage it. I just do.
So yeah, I would say we all know that being new to a community can be a little bit intimidating. And as Vince said, if you go to yesPHX.com, like on the front page, it says being new ain't easy. And then it gives you like steps on how to kind of ingrain yourself. And the one that I want to touch on is meeting people face to face. That worked wonders for me because it gave me an opportunity to actually get to know people and develop a real relationship. And then it's been, you never know where that's going to go. That's led to other jobs, other contracts, anything, just good relationships too. So meeting people face to face, I would highly recommend it. As for work-life balance or something like that, like I say, I'm not the most tech person, so I actually feel like I'm pretty decent at it. I work hard during the day, and then I'm pretty good at unplugging afterwards, spending my evenings, with my friends and doing that kind of stuff, my other hobbies and interests. But I decided that a few years ago because I used to be a workaholic, had a pretty bad crash, and I was like, I cannot do that again. So I make sure that I'm very diligent, and I can tell if I'm starting to get overworked or anything like that, and then I intentionally, separate myself from it for a bit.
So wise, Adam.
Well, is there anything that you guys want to add before we come to a close here?
I would add that once you start, and this is coming from my personal experience, when you kind of start getting into it, even if you're a little hesitant or a little shy, that's okay. A lot of people are, and you're gonna find like-minded people no matter what. I guarantee it. Even if it's one or two people, but those people could end up being fantastic friends and connections. The example that I like to give now is, my wife has not. She was never in this area either, and she saw me kind of doing everything, and she was doing her own thing. And then I don't know, 6 months ago or so, maybe a little bit longer, she saw an event, Startup Grind Phoenix, and because I post them all the time to help promote it, and she saw it. She was like, oh, that looks really interesting. And so she wanted to go, so she went. And then it turned out that she volunteered to help out, and which Christina loves.
I love Marissa. She's so amazing. Just always willing to just literally do whatever. She's an incredible part of my team.
Well, if you want to volunteer, Startup Grind is a great thing to volunteer for.
Love to have you.
Yes, and Christina's definitely looking for volunteers regularly. Go help out. So my wife went and helped out, and then she got the bug. She totally got the bug, and now she created her brand, has it out there, and created her own podcast. And that was something like a year ago she would have never done, never would have even had the inkling to do would have been like, oh, I can't do that. So it becomes it becomes infectious, you know. And so she's in the early childhood space. And it's like, well, what does that have to do with this? A lot, you know. There's even if you think that your area of expertise doesn't have a connection, I almost guarantee you it does. There's some way that it connects to the yesPHX community or to people in the yesPHX community. So, I would say it's infectious when you get involved with it. You get to a dangerous level of infectious. You know, you get too much, but in a good way. In a good way. So.
But isn't that cool when you find your passion? Because I feel like there's so many people that I talk to that are like, they hate going to work. They hate, I don't know, that they're like bored. I don't understand these people, because I think as soon as I feel that way, I'm like pieced out and on to my next thing. But I love that. I love that people can catch a bug in this community, and it can give them passion and drive and really give them a whole new like dream in life. I think that's so cool.
A lot of times it's just about exposure. I used to be in that. I used to sit in a cubicle, you know, just because I didn't know what else was around. And then it all just started to click once I got exposed to it and into it.
I would say at the end of the day, it's all about relationships. You know, we're talking about the yesPHX community, and a community is nothing but a series of relationships. So put yourself out there, be genuine, make friends. I still will grab lunch, and I'll have friends from my first startup weekend come down and work next to me at Galvanize. And even if it's not often, like once a year, like I still make sure to reach out, but we'll always have some sort of connection there. And it's satisfying, one thing. You also never know where it'll lead, but yeah, it's all about the relationships.
Amazing. Thank you. You guys have been wonderful. Well, thank you for joining us today. We've really enjoyed our guests. Please connect with Christina, Adam, and Vincent on social media, and be sure to catch our next episode, The Generous Hour. And thanks again, and hope to catch you next time. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Anyway,
And that's what it is to be an entrepreneur.